was a quiet evening, just like any other. I was out for a walk, letting the crisp air settle into my skin, when I saw her again, Eleanor. She was walking down the street, her little boy laughing beside her, their voices carrying in the fading sunlight. There was something about that moment, the way she smiled at him, the way he looked at her with pure love. It was peaceful, it was full. And yet, every time I saw her, I couldn't help but notice how others looked at her. The whispers, the curiosity, the pity disguised as concern. She doesn't have any friends. She never goes out with other women. Hasn't she been single for years? They don't understand her. Because in their world, a woman alone must be lonely. A woman without a social circle must be missing something. But I've watched Eleanor long enough to know the truth. She isn't lonely. She isn't missing anything. She's built a life on her own terms. A life where no man can break her, no group of friends defines her, and no one else's validation dictates her worth. And the more I got to know her, the more I realized there are many women like Eleanor. Women who don't fit into the world's neat little expectations. Women who are strong enough to walk alone. Women who are not waiting to be understood. So today, I want to tell you her story. Because maybe, just maybe, it's your story too. If this message resonated with you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with the women in your life who need to hear it. The ones who are walking alone but don't yet realize the strength in it. The ones who feel the weight of judgment but need the reminder that they owe the world no explanations. And if you've ever felt like Eleanor, if you've ever built a life outside of expectations, tell your story. Drop a comment. Let's start a conversation. Because the more we speak, the less alone we truly are. 1. A life of purpose is a life of power. Eleanor never lets her mind wander into the abyss of emptiness. While many seek distractions, mindless conversations, superficial gatherings, endless scrolling through screens, she chooses a different path. She fills her days not with noise, but with meaning. She teaches part-time, volunteers at a local shelter, and devotes herself to the one person who truly matters, her son. It would be easy to assume she is missing out. That a woman who moves through life without a bustling social calendar must somehow be incomplete. And yet, there is a calmness to her, an undeniable inner strength that sets her apart. I've heard whispers from the neighbors, the kind of judgments people cast when they don't understand someone. She keeps to herself too much. She never seems interested in making friends. I wonder why she's always alone. But the truth? She doesn't care. She doesn't live for the approval of others. She lives for her purpose. In a world obsessed with social validation, women are taught from a young age that belonging means being surrounded by others. The more people you have around you, the more valuable you must be. But the purpose is the great equalizer. When a woman has a mission, she no longer needs external validation to feel whole. She doesn't chase attention, she commands respect. She doesn't accept empty connections, she cultivates depth. The Stoics understood this well. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good person should be. Be one." Eleanor embodies this. She does not waste her energy proving herself to others. She simply lives her truth. And in doing so, she becomes magnetic. The most captivating people are not those who constantly seek admiration. They are the ones who stand firm in their purpose and focus on their craft, their growth, and their inner world. Many women fear solitude because they associate it with loneliness. But there is a crucial difference between being alone and feeling lonely. Loneliness stems from a lack of purpose, not a lack of people. When a woman has a vision that excites her, a mission that drives her, she doesn't have time to feel empty. She is too busy creating, learning, and evolving. Eleanor doesn't spend her evenings questioning why she isn't included in every social event. She spends them improving her skills, investing in herself, and nurturing her son's future. This is why she carries herself with unshakable confidence. Because when your life is rich with meaning, you no longer need to fill it with empty relationships just to pass the time. Seneca once said, "It is not that we have a short space of time, but that we waste much of it." Most people waste precious hours chasing social approval, but the rare, extraordinary woman, she directs that time toward her personal evolution. There are two types of women in this world: the one who waits for life to hand her meaning, constantly seeking distractions, chasing validation, fearing solitude, and the one who builds her own meaning, grounded, focused, choosing quality over quantity in everything she does. Eleanor belongs to the second group, and that is why she stands out. Instead of waiting for others to define her worth, she creates a fulfilling life on her own terms. Instead of seeking love, admiration, or acceptance, she focuses on becoming the kind of woman who doesn't need to ask for it, because it naturally comes to her. A woman with a strong sense of purpose radiates a presence that is undeniable. She does not need to be the loudest in the room to be noticed. She does not need a crowd to feel validated. She walks into a space and carries a quiet confidence that speaks louder than words. If you feel lost, if you find yourself basing your worth on who chooses to include you, take a step back. Ask yourself, what truly excites me? What impact do I want to make? What would I do if I wasn't worried about judgment? Then start building your life around those answers. Purpose is what separates a woman who is easily forgotten from a woman who leaves an undeniable mark. And when you have a purpose, you no longer wonder who is thinking about you, who is watching, who is approving, because you are too busy becoming something greater than their opinions. 2. Emotional resilience, the strength no one sees. No one can make you feel inferior without your consent. There was a time when Eleanor relied too much on others. She depended on them for validation, comfort, for happiness, and when they left, it felt as though a part of her had been taken away. But now, no man can make her cry. No absence can shake her foundation. She no longer reacts to gossip or judgment. She lets people talk and keeps moving forward. When faced with rejection, she doesn't see it as a loss, just a redirection to something better. She has turned every pain into a lesson, and now she trusts herself more than anyone else ever could. Because when you become emotionally strong, people lose their power over you. Emotional resilience is not about being unfeeling. It is about mastering your emotions instead of being ruled by them. Weakness is when your mood depends on others, when their words, their presence, or their absence dictate how you feel. Strength is when you remain unshaken, no matter what happens around you. This is what makes Eleanor different. She no longer breaks under pressure. She doesn't beg for closure, for apologies, for understanding. She doesn't need them anymore. Many women have been conditioned to believe that their emotions should be worn on their sleeves and that expressing every feeling makes them more authentic. But the truth? The most powerful woman is the one who knows when to stay silent. Not because she suppresses her emotions, but because she refuses to give others the satisfaction of seeing her lose control. Eleanor no longer reacts to drama. She observes, she understands, and then she moves forward without looking back. That is power. The ability to stand still in a storm while others panic. The ability to choose peace over reaction. Most people give away their power too easily, through anger, through tears, through begging for understanding from people who were never meant to understand them in the first place. A woman who is emotionally resilient, she does not chase explanations. She does not plead to be heard. She does not let temporary circumstances dictate her permanent state of mind. There is a reason why emotionally resilient women stand out. They are the ones who do not fall apart when someone walks away. They are the ones who do not crumble when life does not go as planned. They are the ones who, no matter what happens, still hold their head high. This does not mean they do not feel. It means they have learned that not every feeling deserves a reaction. That strength is in restraint. That peace comes from within, not from the approval of others. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, it is not the thing itself that troubles you, but your judgment about it, and you have the power to change that judgment." Eleanor embodies this principle. When people leave, she does not grieve their absence. She welcomes the space they've created. When people insult her, she does not fight back. She lets their words die in silence. When life tests her, she does not break. She adapts. This is what makes a woman untouchable. Not beauty, not charm, not social status, but unshakable inner strength, the kind that cannot be taken away, the kind that, once developed, makes you immune to the opinions and actions of others. Think of the moments in your life when someone's words ruined your day, when someone's absence makes you question your worth, when someone's rejection makes you feel small. Now, imagine a version of yourself who does not flinch, does not doubt, and does not lose herself in the opinions of others. That is the woman you are capable of becoming. The woman who remains in control no matter what happens. The woman chooses her response instead of being controlled by emotion. The world expects women to be reactive, to be easily swayed, and to be emotionally fragile. But the moment you break that expectation, the moment you become untouchable, everything changes. You stop waiting for closure. You stop explaining yourself. You stop giving your energy to things that do not serve you. Eleanor is not emotionless. She is not cold. She simply no longer allows others to dictate how she feels. And that is why she is free. 3. Finding joy in the simple things. Have you ever wondered why some people seem at peace even when they have very little, while others, despite having everything, are never satisfied? Eleanor is one of those rare people who radiate contentment. She doesn't seek validation through luxury or social approval. She finds joy in the simplest of things. Morning sunlight streaming through her window, the sound of her son's laughter, the feeling of a book in her hands after a long day. She is proof that happiness is not about being surrounded by people. It's about feeling at home within yourself. We often fall into the trap of thinking that the more we have, the happier we'll be. More friends, more attention, more invitations, more possessions. But that kind of happiness is fleeting. It's built on conditions, on things outside of ourselves that we can't control. And when those things disappear, so does our sense of fulfillment. I know this because I once lived that way. There was a time when I thought joy meant constant stimulation, social events, relationships, and validation from others. But now, I have no romantic partner. I don't have a large circle of friends. Most evenings I take quiet walks as the sun sets, lost in my thoughts. I read with a cup of tea, savoring the stillness. Like Eleanor, I've learned that peace comes from within, not from the noise of the world. Happiness isn't found in being seen or heard by many. It's found in the small, overlooked moments of life. But in a world that constantly tells you to want more, to do more, to be more, learning to be content with simplicity is an act of defiance. Eleanor lives this truth every single day. While others chase the next big thing, the next relationship, the next promotion, the next moment of external recognition, she finds satisfaction in what already exists. She doesn't seek happiness, she creates it in the spaces most people overlook. It reminds me of something Seneca once wrote. It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor. The woman who learns to love simplicity is never truly poor. She is never left empty when people leave. She does not feel lost when things slow down. She does not fear silence because she is not trying to escape herself. So many people fill their lives with distractions just to avoid being alone with their own thoughts. They drown out the discomfort of solitude with noise, endless scrolling, meaningless conversations, and temporary pleasures that leave them feeling even more hollow. But the rare woman, the high-value woman, understands that true fulfillment doesn't come from external sources. It comes from mastering the art of being present with oneself. This is why Eleanor, despite walking through life without a large social circle, never looks like she's missing out. She doesn't need a packed schedule or constant interaction to feel whole. She is content within her own company, and that makes her magnetic in ways most people don't understand. Happiness isn't about accumulating more, it's about needing less. A simple life doesn't mean a dull life. It means a life free from unnecessary complications. It means choosing quality over quantity, not just in friendships, but in everything. It means knowing that a quiet evening alone, reading a book that expands your mind, is far more valuable than a night spent in meaningless conversations. It means realizing that peace is worth more than attention, and that depth will always outshine excess. Most people don't understand this until it's too late. They chase temporary highs, thinking they are pursuing happiness, only to find themselves exhausted, restless, and never truly fulfilled. But the woman who learns to find joy in the simple things, she will always have an unshakable foundation, because no one can take away the things that bring her peace. 4. Quality over quantity in friendships. There was a time when I believed friendships were about numbers. The more people in my social circle, the more valuable I thought I was. But as the years passed, I realized something. Most friendships have an expiration date. They exist in a particular phase of life, serve their purpose, and then fade away. And that's okay. Not everyone deserves access to you. And that's a good thing. I've come to understand that friendship is not about having people, it's about having the right people. The kind of people who stand by you when things aren't easy. The kind who celebrate your victories without resentment. The kind whose presence feels like peace, not pressure. Most people don't have that. What they have is proximity, acquaintances that come and go, connections that exist out of convenience. They confuse interaction with depth, mistaking frequency for meaning, but true friendship is rare, and that's why it holds value. There is a reason why some of the most self-sufficient, emotionally strong women are misunderstood. Society expects a woman to be constantly surrounded, to always have a support system, to always be engaged, to always be available. But the truth is, a woman who chooses quality over quantity in friendships stands apart. She does not fill her life with unnecessary relationships just to avoid being alone. She does not chase connection for the sake of appearances. She is selective, and that is why she is strong. People talk about women like that. They wonder why she keeps to herself. They assume she is lonely, that she must be missing something. They whisper behind her back because they cannot comprehend the peace she carries within her. But she knows something they don't. A peaceful life is not built on how many people you know, but on the quality of the ones you let in. Most friendships do not end in betrayal. They end in neglect, in distance, in the realization that you were never truly aligned to begin with. And that is why the strongest women let go without fear. They do not mourn the loss of superficial relationships. They understand that growth requires space, and not everyone is meant to walk with them forever. A high-value woman does not give her energy freely. She does not entertain relationships that drain her. She chooses where to invest her time, her trust, and her love. And because she is selective, the connections she does have are real, lasting, and deeply fulfilling. Think about it. How many times have you kept people around just because it felt easier than letting go? How many times have you ignored red flags in friendships simply because you didn't want to be alone? How many times have you allowed access to your life when you knew deep down that person didn't deserve it? The most powerful women are not the ones who never feel lonely. They are the ones who refuse to let loneliness dictate their standards. A woman who is comfortable in solitude does not settle for surface-level friendships. She values depth over frequency. She chooses to be surrounded by a few great people rather than a sea of meaningless connections. And that is why she is unshakable. It takes courage to walk alone, to remove yourself from relationships that no longer align, to embrace solitude as a source of strength, not a sign of weakness. But once you do, something shifts. You stop feeling the need to explain yourself. You stop apologizing for being selective. You stop seeing solitude as a punishment and start recognizing it as the filter that keeps the wrong people out. Most people are afraid of being alone. But the woman who learns to value herself above empty relationships, she becomes someone they all wish they could be. Because while they chase validation, she is already complete. 5. Growth through solitude. Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul. Marcus Aurelius. The years Eleanor spent alone were not wasted. They were the years she became herself. While others feared solitude, she embraced it. While some sought company to escape their own thoughts, she faced her head-on. Instead of waiting for someone to accompany her, she learned new skills. Instead of using people as distractions, she sat in the stillness and listened. To her own mind, her own desires, her own truth. She redefined what self-worth meant, not through the lens of external validation, but through her own discovery. Solitude was not an emptiness. It was the space where transformation happened. Many women fear being alone. They mistake solitude for isolation, thinking that without the presence of others, they are incomplete. But the reality? Most people are never truly alone. They are just constantly distracted. Distracted by relationships, by social obligations, by noise that drowns out their own thoughts. And because of that, they never truly know themselves. Eleanor knew better. She understood what most people don't. Growth happens in silence. When you strip away distractions, when you remove external validation, you are left with the rawest version of yourself. And that is where true self-improvement begins. She spent years refining her mind instead of filling it with meaningless chatter. She became more skilled, more focused, and more self-sufficient. She did not let loneliness define her. She used it as a tool to sharpen her independence. This is the paradox of solitude. It is in being alone that you learn to be whole. Society teaches women to fear solitude, to believe that a woman alone is a woman unloved, unwanted, unsuccessful. But that couldn't be further from the truth. Some of the most powerful, high-value women are the ones who have mastered being alone. The ones who do not crumble in silence, but thrive in it. Think about it. The women who command the most respect, who walk into a room with quiet confidence, who don't beg for attention, these are the women who have learned to stand on their own. They do not chase. They do not cling. They do not need external stimulation to feel complete. And because of that, they are rare. They are sought after. They are truly free. There is something magnetic about a woman who enjoys her own company. She is not easily influenced because she has spent time defining who she is. She does not fear solitude because she has learned that her own presence is enough. This is why Eleanor never felt the need to explain herself. When others whispered about her, when they wondered why she didn't seek out more social interaction, she remained unaffected. She did not crave their understanding. She did not need their approval. She was too busy becoming the woman she was meant to be. Solitude is not a punishment. It is an opportunity. An opportunity to cultivate a deep sense of self, to master your emotions, to refine your purpose. And the women who embrace it, they become unshakable. They are the ones who move differently, who make decisions with clarity, who lives with a sense of purpose instead of restlessness. Most people fill their time with distractions. They fear silence because silence forces them to confront themselves. But the woman who can sit alone in a room with nothing but her own thoughts and feel at peace, that is the woman who is truly in control. The world tells you that solitude is something to avoid, that a woman alone is a woman in need. But the truth? A woman who has mastered solitude is a woman no one can control. Because she has built herself by herself. And that is a kind of power most people will never understand. 6. Rejecting society's expectations. The world has a script for you. A set of rules you never agreed to. You should have a group of friends. You should be dating. You should be more like everyone else. From the moment you start making choices that don't align with the norm, the world begins whispering. Why are you still single? Why don't you go out more? Aren't you lonely? But here's the truth. You do not exist to fit into their mold. I don't force myself into social situations that drain me. I don't date because I feel obligated. I choose myself. I don't care if people think I'm missing out because I know I'm not. There is a quiet power in refusing to conform. But society doesn't like women who choose their own path. It is like women who follow the script, who believe that fulfillment comes from relationships, from approval, from doing what's expected. It teaches women that they should be wanted, included, and accepted. That solitude is something to fear. And yet, the most self-possessed women in history were the ones who walked alone. The world will try to make you feel incomplete. Prove them wrong. It will tell you that something is missing from your life. Your value is tied to how many people surround you, how desirable you are, and how well you conform to the timeline they've set. However, high-value women don't measure their worth by external standards. They define it themselves. Most people never stop to question why they live the way they do. They follow tradition, social norms, and expectations, without ever asking, is this actually what I want? They enter relationships because it's the right time. They maintain friendships because they're afraid to be alone. They build their lives around how things should be instead of how they want them to be. And because of that, they wake up one day feeling lost, unfulfilled, and disconnected from who they truly are. But the woman who chooses herself is different. She doesn't say yes just because it's expected. She doesn't keep people around out of obligation. She doesn't let society tell her how to live. She creates a life that is fully her own. Some people will misunderstand this. They will assume she is lonely, that she must be searching for something, that a woman who isn't chasing love, friendship, or validation must be missing out. But what they don't realize is this: she is free. Free from forced connections, free from unspoken pressures, free from the need to explain herself. She understands that peace is worth more than approval, and that is why she moves differently. While others try to fit in, she stands out. While others seek to be chosen, she chooses herself. While others fear what people might think, she remains unshaken. This is the kind of woman the world cannot control. Because she does not seek permission to live on her terms, because she does not fear rejection, because she has built a life so fulfilling that no external validation could ever add to it. The world will try to tell you what you should want, but when you reject that expectation, when you stop chasing acceptance and start building yourself, something shifts. You stop explaining your choices, you stop justifying your happiness. You stop apologizing for not living the way others expect you to. You realize that the life you create for yourself is far more valuable than the one society tries to hand you. And that's when you become untouchable. 7. Self-worth without external validation. Most people spend their entire lives waiting for approval, waiting for recognition, waiting for someone to tell them they are enough. But the rarest kind of woman, the one who moves through life with quiet confidence, is the woman who does not wait. She has already decided her worth. Eleanor built something most people never do: self-worth without permission. She does not need compliments to feel beautiful. She does not measure success by social status. She does not seek validation. And I am learning to do the same. Because the truth is, when you know who you are, the opinions of the world stop mattering. Most people tie their value to external things, to how they are perceived, to what they have achieved, to how much attention they receive. But what happens when those things disappear? When no one is watching? When the applause stops? A woman whose self-worth is built on external validation will always be at the mercy of others. But a woman who defines her own worth, she becomes unshakable. She does not dress to impress strangers. She does not shape her life around what others think she should be. She does not feel the need to prove herself because she already knows her value. And that is what makes her powerful. People often misunderstand confidence. They think it's about being loud, about showing off, about proving something. But real confidence, the kind that draws people in without effort, is built on something much deeper. It's built on certainty. The certainty that you do not need to be liked to be valuable, that you do not need to be admired to be worthy, that you do not need validation to believe in yourself. This is what most people struggle to understand. They believe confidence comes from being praised, from being chosen, from being seen. But in reality, the most confident women are the ones who do not seek approval at all. They walk into a room without needing attention, and that is why they get it. When you stop looking for validation, something shifts. You no longer need to explain yourself. You no longer feel anxious about how others perceive you. You no longer shrink yourself to fit into spaces that were never meant for you. You simply exist as you are, fully, unapologetically, without hesitation. Most people are terrified of this kind of woman, because she is free in a way they have never been. They do not understand how she can be alone and still be happy, how she can reject approval and still be secure, how she can move through life without questioning her worth. But the truth? She has mastered what they have not. She has learned that self-worth is not given, it is claimed. And the moment you claim it, the moment you stop waiting for permission to be enough, the world loses its power over you. They can no longer control you with their approval. They can no longer make you doubt yourself. They can no longer use your need for validation against you, and that is when you become untouchable. Because a woman who knows her worth does not need to chase, to prove, to seek. She simply is. And that is more than enough. The world will try to define you. It will tell you that your worth is measured by how many people surround you, by how much attention you receive, by how well you fit into the expectations set before you. But the truth is, your value has never been dependent on external approval. A woman who learns to stand alone is not lacking. She is liberated. She does not chase meaningless connections. She does not seek validation from people who do not understand her. She does not fear solitude because she knows it is in that stillness where true strength is built. This journey is not about rejection. it is about refinement. Refining your mind, your energy, and your life so that only what truly matters remains. Choosing quality over quantity. Finding peace in simplicity. Walking away from what does not serve you. But none of this happens overnight. It is a practice, a discipline, a daily commitment to yourself. So take this lesson and apply it. Choose self-worth over validation. Choose solitude over shallow connections. Choose purpose over approval. And when you do, you will find that you no longer need to be chosen, because you have already chosen yourself. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever had to walk away to protect your peace? Share your story in the comments. Let's build a space where strength, independence, and wisdom are celebrated.